Everything, everything gonna be all right this morning.
Okay, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, another episode for the archives. Man, I'm so stoked to talk to my guest today. It's been a minute since he's been on, I think about 5 years. And boy, has things taken off for him and the organization that he's the CEO of and co-founder, Nubability Athletics. We are going on our 10th year this year. I absolutely cannot believe it. But again, he's been doing a little bit of everything, man, since I first met him, since the camp first kicked off. He is an author of the book Game Changer, motivational speaker, and again, like I said, CEO and co-founder of Nubability Athletics, which is a camp specifically catered to children with limb differences. Those limb differences could be congenital, amputees, etc. It is an absolutely amazing time, and he is an alchemical human being. No, he's not transmuting lead into gold, but he is transforming the quality of life of so very many people, myself being one of them, my daughter's mother being one of them, and of course my daughter, who is going to be attending her 10th year of camp this year. Sam, what's up, brother?
How's it going, Jeff, man? Thank you so much for having me on. And holy cow, I can't believe that this has been 10 years and that I've gotten to watch your daughter grow up for the last for the last 10 years. I've literally watched her every summer except for obviously the COVID-19 summer. We don't have to bring that up. That's
we're done with that.
But man, it's been amazing to watch not only her, but to see the majority of our kids from that first camp are still campers and coming back this year for our 10th year, and to see, that 4-year-old who is now transitioned into being a 14-year-old and a high school student. That's
Yeah, we were just talking we're having lunch today, and she's like, "It's been 10 years." She's like, "I feel old." I'm like, "Don't even get me started, girl." But it's gone by so fast, and like I said, it's been a while since you've been back on the show. It's been, I think, 5 years. If you don't mind, just give us a little encapsulation on the origin of where this all started. I think we started, like you said, 8, 9, 10 campers, and you're talking about hundreds of kids now that are able to make it to DuQuoin, Illinois each summer. Like you said, couldn't do it that year of COVID, but it's been growing exponentially. But where did this all start, my friend?
Yeah, man. So, I was born and raised with missing my left hand, and I loved sports and always had a passion for sports. And so through my own sports journey, of trials and tribulations, I really grew to own my difference in that sport. And with being the one-handed athlete, especially in baseball, news articles became a customary thing to me. It's something that I knew was going to happen throughout the years. What I didn't understand at that time was how powerful written media could be when brought into the right hands. And so somehow a organization called Camp No Limits got a hold of one of those articles, and they reached out to me and said, "Hey, we are a camp for kids with limb differences and amputees. We teach them everyday life skills. We have fun with them. We do a fun camp, but we really want to introduce sports to this camp." And I was like, absolutely, I would love to. That would be amazing. And Mary Layton and Camp No Limits do amazing things for kids all over the country. And so I was really excited because, for me, Jeff, I grew up in you've been here. It's a 3-stoplight town.
Yes.
Everybody loves everybody, but it's a 3-stoplight town. And so to my knowledge, it was myself and Jim Abbott were the only one-handed athletes out there. I didn't have I had dial-up internet growing up all the way till my senior year of high school. So you didn't catch me loading up any forums or anything where there was, where are the other different athletes at in the United States. I didn't have that. So I went to the camp because I was so excited. I thought it was just me and Jim Abbott. And I get there and I see kids like me, and the majority of the kids were missing just their hand or some fingers. There was 1 or 2 lower, but the rest of them were all upper limb different. And we're going through and we're sitting around a campfire, and everybody's talking about, giving their first and last name and where they're from and what sports they play. It's kind of my idea to see what I had to work with. And we're wrapped around a fire pit, and I noticed a tradition in the response. "Hi, I'm Jimmy. I play soccer. Hi, I'm Billy. I play soccer. Hi, I'm Kenny. I play soccer." And I'm like, soccer's a good sport, but what other sports you guys play? I only hear one sport. And I'm to them, and I'm looking at them, Jeff, and I'm seeing that they're only missing a hand. I'm like, are they playing goalie in soccer? Like, where's the challenge here? And so it gets to me, and I'm like, hey, I'm Sam Kuhnert. I play baseball, basketball, football, hunt, fish, do weightlifting. Like, well, do you play soccer? It's like, well, one, soccer is a sin in my hometown, and two, I have 2 feet. And this is where my mom elbows me in the ribs. She's like, what did you just say? Can't believe I just said that out loud. But I mean, that was the mentality that I had. Was I had what I needed to play, and I didn't want to play a sport where I had everything that I quote unquote needed to play.
Sure.
And so I got to talking with another mom there, because what really didn't sit well with me was the fact that all of these kids were saying one sport. You heard the list of sports that I rattled off. These are not all sports that I was participating in at the time. They were sports that I had played. And I'm like, why are they only being subjected to one sport? So I got to talking with a parent, and they mentioned to me how they really didn't want to see their children fail, and they felt like their child had the best opportunity to succeed in soccer. And that's just not the right mindset to take, period. Our failures aren't meant to be obstacles or walls. They're meant to be steps that we have to take to get better. We fall down, then we take 2 steps forward. That's just how it's supposed to be. They're not supposed to be obstacles or walls that you can't break through. They're supposed to be ideas to learn from, so that you can grow and continue to move forward. And hearing that the family member was essentially keeping this child from moving forward didn't sit well with me. And so I pulled in the big guns, Jeff, and the big gun I'm talking about. That's Jana Kuhnert, my mama. And I said, Mama, get these parents away from me for 2 hours. Give me 2 hours. And so on the spot, my mom comes up with a 2-hour raising a limb different athlete forum, open forum for parents to ask her questions and to talk and learn a little bit. And while they did that, I taught the kids how to throw and catch a football, how to throw and catch a baseball, how to hit a baseball, how to dribble and shoot a basketball, how to swing a golf club. I taught them all of this in this matter of 2 hours, and they picked up on things that took me years to learn in a matter of minutes. And that's when I saw, this raw, God-given talent going to waste out of fear of failure. And that's what it truly was a fear of failure. And that didn't sit well with me. And so that night, I went back to the 110-degree, I think it was a boys club or Boy Scouts camp or something like that is where we were staying. And it was no air conditioning whatsoever. It was temperatures like today and a heat index. And all I had was a little battery-powered fan to keep me cool. So there was no sleeping period. But as soon as I start to close my eyes, I keep hearing this voice come in my head saying, you can change this, you can change this. And I just keep hearing this voice time and time again. And finally, I vocalized. I'm like, how am I going to change this? I'm a C's get degrees. I'm an athlete. I'm not the smartest kid in the room. I'm not the smartest kid in my school. Like, how can I change this? And that voice just continued. You can change this. You can change this. And it continued until I got into my mom's car, and we're on our way home to go to a baseball game that I was supposed to pitch in that day. And on the way there, all of a sudden this idea pops in my head. And I was like, what if I started a camp for kids with limb differences and amputees like the ones that I just met, but where they were introduced to sports and coached through sports by mentors who look like them, who have been accomplished at the highest level of those mainstream sports.
Absolutely.
So what if I gave them a accomplished limb different athlete to be that mentor and be that person who's already gone through everything, so there's no excuses for these kids? And I vocalized that to my mom, and she said a saying that I'll never forget. She said, I would have driven you across the country on a $10 bill to get you in front of you when you were cut by your 6th, 7th, and 8th grade baseball coach. And she's like, I would have driven across the country to get you in front of you whenever you dealt with bullying. And so that was kind of like the overall, okay, this is real. We need to explore this. And when I said that to my mom, she's like, let's do it. Let's start it. And so we started off as little YouTube forums, basically posting videos of myself doing everyday, sports drills. And eventually I started branching out to other athletes like Eddie Delaney and Hayden Felson at the time, and Kevin Crafton, and we started connecting on our own, and really wanted to take this camp into a sports camp. And so I started reaching out to them, and I was like, hey, here's my vision. Here's kind of what I feel like God's laying on my heart. What do you guys think? And they're like, I'm in. And so we ended up with Kevin Crafton, Nikki Nieves, Eddie Delaney, Eric Westover, Linnea Dorian, and then a junior coach, and Lizzie Ritter and myself coaching the very first Nubability camp. And these were coaches coming from Michigan, Oklahoma, or Florida, Northern Illinois, another part of Southern Illinois, and then New York and South Carolina. So we had coaches coming from all over for that first camp. And, when we had that first camp, Jeff, I'll never forget looking around when we all gathered around that fire pit at Greenville.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it was kind of culminating that the vision of Nubability started with that picture around that fire pit at Camp No Limits, and then it was brought to fruition around a fire pit at Greenville. To see all of you families who put the trust in us for the first time, and I thought that was it, man. I thought this is what I'm supposed to do with the rest of my life. This is Nubability. It's one camp a year. But they always say God's a comedian, and if you really want to hear him laugh, tell him your plans, right? So now here we are today, 10 years later, 12 years later from the idea of Nubability. It's amazing, man. We've changed over 1,500 limb different youth lives. We've worked with those kids, and they've changed our lives. We've held camps in 14 different states. We've served kids from 49 states and 11 countries. To see the growth that we're at currently, like you said, so that first all sports camp was 19 kids. Wow. Now we get over 100 kids, and usually it's closer to 200. We're still working on building that number back up from the COVID pandemic, and then what's going on in the world now. With the inflation and everything. We're still working on building that back up, but I have no doubt we'll be around 200 kids in no time.
Well, and again, you can't begin to understate how powerful it has been to like you said, transforming these kids' lives. Because, as a parent, and, you being born as a child with a limb difference, you feel alone. You know what I mean? And I can't thank my daughter's mom enough for finding you guys, because it was a very kind of scary feeling. You wonder what's life going to be like growing up, bullying, etc. And people listening, you just have to see, and you've mentioned this so many times, the powerful change that happens over those several days over the weekend. Like you said, a lot of the kids come, they might hide their hand or hide their limb difference, but by the time the weekend's over, they're no longer ashamed of it. And they finally realize that they are not alone. And not only having their peers and other kids around with limb differences, finding older kids, older people, coaches, like you said, who've excelled on, very, very, high levels of sports and colleges, et cetera, in sports that they're teaching, for those kids to be able to see themselves in these older people. It's just the ripple effect that it has been so very powerful. And I can just speak for myself, for Shia. It's made all the difference in the world, brother. And, I tell you all the time how much I love you, love your mother. And I just can't say it enough, because the quality of life, the differences you guys have made in the quality of her life, she's just so much more powerful of a kid, man. So much more outgoing, and all of that, and so much of that is attributed to that camp. So again, I can't even begin to thank you enough. And that's what I'm glad you mentioned it. It's the camp is no longer just the summer camp. You guys, you have a golf camp, you have a ski, winter camps. Talk to us a little bit about that. I know you mentioned it. You guys have different camps all over the country now.
Yeah. So before, certain things happened with inflation, and some costs went up to where it made it hard for some of the families to get to. We had a dozen camps on the calendar for this year, which would be the most camps that we've ever pulled off in a year. We're still going to pull off the most camps ever pulled off a year in 10. But, I really wanted that dozen. You know how competitive I am. I really wanted to serve kids in a dozen. But, we're hitting every aspect, every sport that you can think of. We're working on building an ice hockey camp. We're working on finding ways to serve these kids in every aspect. That's why I started Nubability Outdoors, as I branch off of Nubability Athletics also, is to get those kids who aren't interested in sports, to get them the same type of coaching, get them that same type of mentor who can give back to them, but in a different sport. And this time it's in a sport where you can play this sport for the rest of your life. This is something that age doesn't matter when it comes to hunting, fishing, or archery even. There's so many routes. And so we're offering it seems like a camp every other month, if not every month, this year, which has just been amazing. Those camps are probably averaging 10 kids per clinic, some of them more. But it's with those smaller numbers, you get that one-to-one ratio with the coaches, which is so cool to see. But we're loving it, man. We're still working on doing more. My business director, who's also my cousin, Julie Gross, we both are very competitive people, and so we really want to we want to have a camp every month. We want to almost have 2 camps every month. So we're trying to figure out a way where we can offer this to more people to serve more kids. It's how can we serve more kids is what I think of every single time that I'm planning a camp or a clinic. That's why they're not all in the same state. That's why we branched out to 14 different states, because if I'm staying in the same area, I'm gonna serve the same people.
Right.
There might be a new person here or there, but if I can branch this out to serve more areas, that's serving more people and serving more kids and giving more kids the confidence. I'll tell you, we sent 15 kids, Jeff. 15 kids to play college programs, which is amazing, right? That's a huge accomplishment. But the bigger accomplishment is we have kids who are on track to become doctors. We have kids who are on track to become EMTs, surgeons, areas where before Nubability, they might not have saw themselves as capable of performing at that level, but now they have the confidence to own their difference, to go out and do it, changing lives and impacting lives on a tremendous scale, which is amazing. And then my favorite part of this whole camp is the fact that, Shaya's maybe she's 16, 15?
14, going to be 15 this summer.
14, so she's probably 2 years away from joining our coaching team. And we've got 20 plus campers who come back, who were former campers who are now coaches. That is the coolest thing to me, and that in this 10-year span, we have produced at least 1 to 2 coaches per year.
Yeah, it's awesome. And again, it's the can-do attitude that is instilled in these kids. It's no pun intended. And I'm going to ask you about your book. It is game-changing for them. Again, I'm not joking when I say, you're an alchemist kind of human being, man. You are responsible, and you've helped plant the seeds that are responsible for help changing the quality of these kids' lives. Because, like you said, it's transformed them in a way where the confidence level goes through the roof. To, like you said, they're out accomplishing things that they probably never thought they could do. And it's just, man, it's a beautiful thing, man. And again, you're not only the CEO and the head of this camp, co-founder, you're also an author and motivational speaker. Your recent book, I think it's so cool because I follow you on the book on Facebook, and you're leaving the book around in you're signing it and leaving it in different airports. Your book, Game Changer. Obviously, I know what was the catalyst for that, but talk to us a little bit about that book, man.
Jeff, I never would have thought in a million years I would have written a book, especially if you would have went and talked to me and, if you had told me at 2012 camp that, hey, Sam, you're going to write a best-selling book, or you're going to write a book, period, I would have looked at you cross-eyed, Jeff, and I would have been like, I don't know what you're smoking, buddy, but you know who I am. But no, man, it took a lot of prayer and a lot of thought, and it took about 2 years writing that book, and it was literally therapy for me, man. What I found to be so interesting about writing your story, writing my story, and then finding a way to apply it to other people was the unlocking of several situations that my brain locked away to almost like protect me. There was bullying incidences that I didn't remember, but as we're writing books, I brought my mom in on the process so that if there was anything I missed, we could make sure to touch on it. And there was so many different incidences that I had locked away and completely forgotten about. And it was like those were real turning points in my life. And so whenever I wrote the book, I started off and I started going around to all the publishing agencies and everything like that and presenting my book, and the story was the same thing. The story is amazing. We love the book. We love the content of the book. but you don't have any social media followers. They're like, you don't have enough social media followers. I think at the time I had like 2,000 followers or something like that, which for a small town kid in my hometown, I thought that was fine.
Right.
2,000 people there, but they're like, no, you need. Basically, they wanted it to where your following, your social media sold your books, and so I started getting a little discouraged. But then I started thinking, why did I write this book? I wrote this book to make a change in one person's life. If this book changed one person's life, it was worth the entire investment. I learned in 2011, whenever I was sick with an illness that only 2 people in the United States are diagnosed with a year, that it's supposed to kill you in a few weeks to a few months. And God gave me a second chance. I learned how valuable life is and how short it can be, and how you really need to spend this life giving everything you have to this life, which means investing in other people. And so I knew that whenever I chose to write this book, that I really wanted to invest in other people's growth. And so as it went through and got rejected, I was like, you know what, I'm going to self-publish. I'm going to go through the self-publishing process. Well, then I started thinking, well, when do I release this? When do I release this where the most people are going to see it? How do I do this? I'm not a marketing guru. I'm not, I can market Nubability out the butt, but when it comes to talking about myself, I don't like to. And I was like, how do I do this? And so I started praying about it, and sure enough, coronavirus comes in 2020. And in 2020, everybody's, in a negative mindset. Everybody's getting torn down. People are having loss. People are in trials and tribulations that they don't know how to overcome. And I felt the same nudge that I felt to start Nubability. I felt God tell me, release it now. And I talked with a guy named Mike Fallot over at Dreamstarter Publishing. He's a great guy. And I was talking with Mike. He had kind of been through my inner circle, and now he's one of my friends. I actually go to him whenever I need some advice on business or anything like that. And I actually went to Mike and I said, look, I've heard a lot about what you do. I'm going to publish this book, but I feel like I need your help. And so I went and hired Mike to help me out, and we published the book. And within 24 hours, it was an Amazon bestseller.
Wow.
And it was. Yeah, that was amazing to me. I never would have thought that, man, and to see it take off like that. And then, I thought, well, maybe it was an algorithm thing, right? Maybe my book was just an algorithm because it said, your book's a bestseller in this category, because I guess Amazon makes, weird categories out there. But then I go and I read, and there's so many reviews of the book, and just reading those reviews and seeing that it impacted people's lives, I was like, this was what it was about. No matter what I spent on this book, no matter what time investment I spent on this book, I told myself from the beginning, if it impacts one person, it was worth it. And I saw so many people sharing how the story that God gave me impacted them and has impacted their own story, and then how they've been able to relate their story to mine. And I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. But it wasn't enough for me. I felt like, okay, I need to do more. And it was my birthday in 2000. I think it was 2021. 2021. I was sitting at home and I was like, you know what? I'm not a reader. I don't read books. That's how I was. Now I do, but I didn't read books that time. I was like, I'm going to go do an audiobook. And I thought, who do I hire to do this? How does this work? And I started talking to my mom, and I'll tell you, Jeff, she gave me the coldest stare I think I ever got. She's like, you're going to have somebody else read your story. It's like,
seriously.
That's a good point. I was like, that's a good point. And so for my birthday, I booked some time over at a studio, and I sat for, I think, what felt like ever. I think it was 8 hours. 8 hours in that studio. I read my books from cover to cover. Edited it. I had a lot of the editing done myself, and then had the guy at the studio edit the rest so that it was, audiobook friendly. And then I released the audiobook, and then I listened. Then I went and watched the reviews and saw the reviews of the audiobook and people relating to the story. And people who had read the book already and listening to the story and understanding even more and seeing the impact, man, it was incredible to me. I never expected that outcome. I didn't have high expectations for releasing a book. But I knew after I read it that I felt pretty confident in the book. I felt confident in the message. I felt that it wasn't a book about me. It was a book to help others, and which is exactly, how I want to live my life. I feel like we're supposed to live to emulate Christ. And people always talk about, I feel like there's a lot of falsehood in a lot of people's promises as Christians where they don't emulate Christ. They try to listen to the word, to read the word, to voice the word, but not be the word. And if you really be the word, if you look at Christ, look at his actions. He loved every single person for who they were, and he met them on their ground. That's why at Nubability you'll see Muslims, you'll see Jews, you'll see atheists, you'll see Christians, you'll see Hindus, you'll see every walk of life. You'll see gay, straight, everything.
Well, and it's important, and that's the other thing, man. With the challenges we all face in life, it absolutely transcends all of those things. You know what I mean? Religion, gender, race, etc. I forget who said it, but and it's beautiful. Without struggle, there is no progress, right? And so there are no real failures, just opportunities to learn, because struggle and suffering is almost a part of this realm. And to shy away from challenges, like you said, there's no growth in that. We've got to challenge ourselves, and so it's so cool, man. With we've all been given a certain amount of lemons, and it's up to us to make the sweetest of lemonade. And you absolutely have done that. Ladies and gentlemen, check that book out. It is called Game Changer: How to Thrive When Life Doesn't Go According to Plan. Like I said, it's a bestseller, and your Mama Bear is absolutely correct, man. There's nobody else could tell your story better than you. And man, just a big congratulations to you. And again, we have the 10th year of camp coming up here in just a few weeks. I think it's the 3rd or 4th week of July. Obviously, we'll be there in DuQuoin, Illinois. And there's a lot of kind of layers to it, a lot of parts to it. It's really fun, man. The kids have a blast. And the Game Changer benefit, talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Game Changer benefit used to be a benefit that we held around April, and then last year, just due to time constraints, and then the late release of the COVID and everything, all the regulations loosened up, we decided we were going to hold it during camp last year. And what came of that, Jeff, was that our families got to interact with our sponsors. Our sponsors got to interact with our families. Our sponsors got to see our families firsthand what they were experiencing through camp and hear some of their testimonies and hear their experiences of camp. And that was so powerful. And last year we raised around $77,000 from which, as well as I do, it costs over $100,000 to do all sports camp. But with our other donations and sponsors, we actually got all sports camp covered last year.
Nice.
From this. And what was so amazing to me was the silent auction items at that benefit, which this year will be July 15th, and the theme again is tailgate. And Mom's got a big. Let me tell you, the Super Bowl pre-parties and stuff are gonna have to take a lesson from my mama, because this is about the big Super Bowl tailgate type party that she's throwing. But the silent auction items come from our families. So you get different states represented all the time. And I think that's just so cool that our families not only want to invest in Nubability by bringing their kids, but they want to invest in Nubability by bringing something from their home state to show off where they come from.
Yeah, it's cool.
And it's just awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, the silent auctions, like you said, it's everybody's little slice of their hometown. Obviously, in the St. Louis area, we see Cardinal stuff. I mean, it's really cool to just kind of stroll through and see what everybody brings. Like you said, it's a little bit of flavor from each place that they represent. And it's just so cool, Sam. It's really kind of pinching myself. I can't even believe it's been 10 years, and I can only imagine, man. What's the future for Sam Kuhnert? Are we running for office, mayor of DuQuoin, Senate, Congress? What's going on, man? Your future is hecka bright, man. What's going to go down? Where do you see yourself? Seriously, 5-10 years beyond camp. Obviously, camp's going to be a huge part of your life, forever. What are you looking to do, man?
Well, man, if 5 to 10 years goes the way I plan, we'll have a few kids running around with the last name Kuhnert that come from me. You'll also have a very happy family. and Nubability will be thriving to the point where, I have this vision. I can't share with it exactly yet how I'm going to make it happen,
Right.
but I can share the vision is to be able to ship camp anywhere in the United States with a checklist of, here's the items, here's the activities, here's what needs to be covered, and be able to have camps even where I'm not able to attend. If I could pull off where we could have a Nubability camp in every state multiple times during the year where we're serving that many kids, that would be the ultimate goal. So to be able to be out there and serving that many kids. And then of course, I'll always tell you my goal is to get overseas. And I really think I'm going to say in 2 years, we'll be overseas.
Wow. I mean, the sky is the limit, man, and you've done so much. I mean, 10 years seems like a long time, and I guess technically it is, but you've done so much in a very short period of time. I can only imagine, what more you can do. And you're so correct, man. Life, in my humble opinion, especially as I get older, it's not about, being selfish. It's being selfless and being altruistic and helping to benefit the lives of others. And again, man, I don't want to get all bullshit on here because I know I will. You've helped change my daughter's life, man, and our lives and so many other lives, Sam. I can't tell you how much I love you and how many others obviously probably echo those same sentiments, that how much you've helped change their life and their family's life.
Well, man, I'll tell you that every single child that has come through Nubability, Shia included, has changed my life. And if it weren't for those kids, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And that's 100%. I am very, very, very blessed, that God gave me a second chance at life, and that He allowed me to be the one to have this vision. But I'm blessed for all you parents, Jeff. What you don't realize is the parents have contributed more by trusting in us, because you guys made the decision to trust in us, and that's what really started it. If you would have said in 2012 no to your daughter's mom at that time, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Yeah, true.
But you said yes to that first camp. You saw the heart behind it, and that's the thing. Nubability will always be led with heart and with a servant's heart. What servant's heart means that I'm going to help as many people as I can, and we're always going to be a family. And to the point where, like I told you before, scholarships for returning and news campers is the same procedure. Apply and receive.
Absolutely.
And if I don't have time, I'll go find the money, because every child deserves this camp. Every child deserves the opportunity to learn that they were created perfectly, or if they're an MC, they weren't put in a situation they can't overcome. Every child deserves the opportunity to, almost like what all kids get whenever they show up for Little League practice. You show up for Little League practice, coach has both hands, both feet, and he's teaching you. So you have somebody who looks like you teaching you the game for the first time. Every kid deserves someone who looks like them to teach them for the first time. And not only to teach them, to push them to be their best and push them past for their own limits. This year's theme is limitless, which means removing all of the limits that we place on ourselves and shooting for the stars.
Absolutely.
That's the biggest thing that you can do, is always take those limits off. You understand that the only limits in life are those that you place on yourself, no matter what your situation is. I've seen people in wheelchairs doing phenomenal things. I've seen people who other people would call special education doing amazing things, and I just call them mentally different, because they are. They're not hindered. The only disability in life is a disabled mindset.
Yeah.
Once you take that out, it's golden.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like you said, no limits, that unless the ones we put on ourselves. And again, man, you plant these seeds and camp each year in your words, you just help water these kids, those seeds, and they realize that there is no such thing as impossible. And again, I can't say it enough how awesome it is that you've been so impactful on so many people's lives, my man. I look forward to seeing you and the whole family here in a few weeks. If you don't mind, give a quick shout out where we can track you down and, see the growth of the camp and maybe order that book.
Yes, absolutely. I'd be happy to shoot a quick shout out. Man, I really I can't thank you enough, Jeff. I know 5 years ago, I hadn't had a book. I didn't have anything. I was trying to get my speaking out, and you were big into the podcast, and I reached out to you and I said, hey, brother, can you help me out? and you helped me out. And we talked about camp, obviously, but you also allowed me to speak on my speaking then. And I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you. I really appreciate all you do for us during camp, being the voice of Nubability. I don't know if you even mentioned that on this podcast or not. Voice of Nubability. Which this year you get to, you're going to get to voice a whole lot more. We're doing some really cool things this year at camp that we're excited about. We're having, we added 30 minutes of travel time between sessions that will also hold breakout sessions for parents. So you'll get to see powerlifting with an adaptive athlete with some of our conditioning coaches, performance nutrition. So really, really taking nutrition to that next level to have our athletes perform at the highest levels. Raising power over pity, that's my mom's favorite one. So that'll be offered 2 to 3 times on Saturday. There's all of these different things that we're choosing to grow this year and really take Nubability to the level, not only for the kids, not only for the coaches, but for the parents too. So really excited about that, brother. But I really appreciate you having me on. Appreciate you always giving me the platform to speak on Nubability, and can't wait to see you and Shia here in a month. It's a month away.
Yeah, she was telling me last night she was up late doing squats, that she could barely feel her legs today, so she's getting herself ready to go. Drop the samkuhnert.com, correct? That's where you can check you out.
Yes, yeah, you can check out my speaking and my book. You can go to samkuhnert.com. The book's available on Audible and Amazon. It's also available on Kindle, so you can do it in the Kindle version if you want. I don't even know if Kindle is a thing anymore. Like I said, Jeff, I just started reading again whenever I started that 75 hard workout, and that was tough. I think that was the toughest part, was making myself read 10 pages. Now I read a little bit here and there. So. But yeah, you can check it out on Amazon. You can get a copy. If you want an author signed copy, order it off of samkuhnert.com. Send it in to me. I'll pay for the shipping and I'll send it back to you. So that's about all I have on myself. But most importantly, if you know of a limb different child that you feel like could benefit from our camp, age 4 to 17, please send them our way. We want as many limb different children at this camp as possible. They don't have to be athletes. They don't have to love sports forever to get the mentorship that they need. So go to nubability.org. Check us out on all social media platforms. Our scholarship policy is always ask and receive.
And I can guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, your children will be in the very, very best hands. And I can give my 10-year testimony on that, my friends. Sam, thank you again so much. And thank you for all your hard work. I know here coming to crunch time, you guys are very, very busy around the old DuQuoin, which is just an awesome, quaint little small town, but a huge heart. And again, making just incredible differences in people's lives. I can't thank you enough, my friend. Thank you. We'll be seeing you soon, my friend. I love you like midnight loves the moon. And ladies and gentlemen, peace and so much love. Much respect.